Okay, so today we're going to finish the unit. So pretty short and sweet, and a lot of ways to be able to check your work over with calculator. Now, just to recap, remember, a radical equation would contain a radical. A rational expression is one that has a variable in the denominator. Now, was that sarcasm? Or is it? Okay. Now, there will be, and I promise you, there will be the did you show up, do you have a pulse questions on the diploma. And these are those kind of things. A rational expression is, and they got A, B, C, D, right? So they do have those on the test. I mean, every test will have some of those. I mean, they are great ones to go when you get that back and you're trying to talk to a student and go like, seriously, did you study? Yeah, I studied so hard. Well, you got number one wrong. Like you didn't even know what a rational expression was, right? So those are good to point out that maybe you need to put a little bit more work in. Now, instead of filling in all of these blanks, can anybody tell me anything about zeros, roots, and x-intercepts? They're all the same. Okay? Now, hopefully I've drilled that into you enough, but I still don't know it. Write that down. Now, let's do an example of a radical in an equation. Now, here you see a pendulum. Now, a pendulum actually goes by the formula T equals 0.2 square root L. What this means, T stands for time, L stands for the length of this string. So the longer the string is, the more time it will take to swing. Okay, if something is quite short, to do one whole back and forth, so actually we're talking a back and forth, it takes less time. Okay, if this thing is huge, you can see obviously it would take way more time. So this formula is used to be able to find either the length or the time. So if I know the time, I can figure out the length of the pendulum. If I know the length of the pendulum, I can figure out how long it would take to swing back and forth. Now, Courtney actually wanted to find out, well, how she wanted to make a pendulum that would take 1 second to swing back and forth. So obviously, she's looking for the length. She knows how much time she wants it to do, but she needs to know the length. So by using this formula, and you would just go 1 equals 0.2 square root L. And we're getting the 1 second from right here, okay? Yep. No, that would actually just be a coefficient that would have been found using, what you do is you just plot points like crazy and get a relationship. So these are all done from experiments. Now, how would you graph this? What would you put in your calculator to find the answer to this? Anyone know? I don't want the answer, but what would I do to find it? So you can put this into y1 and y2. Or what else could you do using your calculator? Which would be more work, yep. Yeah, so you could do y equals 0.2 L minus 1, and then I would still put my y2 equals 0 anyway. And then for both of these, you want to find intercept. Now, I'd like everyone to try one of these ways, and I'm just going to ask somebody randomly for the answer. Okay, so how long is this string? Okay, Colton, what'd you get? Okay, so you got to mess with your window settings a bit, right? Probably want to mess with X max, I would assume. Put your X max like 40. Get it? Yeah. So you should get an L of 25. Now, if you did it this way, okay, and here is 1, that's 1, okay, and you should be getting it, it should have looked kind of like this, right, and here's like 25. Now, if you did it the other way, you actually will get something like this, where this is 25, that'd be negative 1, okay? So either way, you do get the same answer. Now, oh, sorry, just did the graph. Now, how could you do this one algebraically if you had 1 equals 0.2 square root L? What would you do? Divide 0.2, I'm going to get 5 equals square root L. Square both sides. 25 equals L. So this question, especially if you've taken physics, this should be an insult to your intelligence. But we're going through it because there may be one on the diploma, there will be one on my exam. Just going to give you a formula and ask you to find out something within it. Okay, some good review for this next one, and a couple questions that I think would really, and I know, would separate the province right in half. I know half the students would get it, half the students wouldn't, and it's an easy question. Now, I don't want to give away the ending yet. Looking at this graph, what would be the zero of this function? Negative 2. Okay? So often you get just a picture, and from it, like you can't use your calculator there. You got f of x. I don't know what f of x is, but they showed me a picture. So where's the 0? It's at the 0. The, what's another word for 0? Root or x-intercept. So that's the x-intercept, right? Now, what would be the root of f of x equals 0? Now, translate f of x equals 0 to me. Anyone give me a synonym for f of x equals 0? Y equals 0, aka x-intercept. You just hear the non-confidence in the room, right? Like, you got to know those things, that these are all the same thing. Like, these are awesome things to have on a study sheet, okay? Put a little box around, highlight. You know, it is one of those things that if you're not getting caught up or on those, it just really helps keep you focused on doing the question. What would be the root when y equals 0, or the x-intercept? So x equals negative 2, right? Okay, let's just answer some questions. When does f of x equal 3? What's the solution of f of x equals 3? Good. F of 7 equals 3. Does that make sense? Because x is 7, right? So if we do this, oops, that's 8. If I do this, see, f of 7 equals 3. So x equals 7. Now what is the root of the equation f of x minus 4 equals 0? Again, a lot of terminology in there and a lot of just really efficient manners of asking questions, but those are the confusing ones, the very efficient ones, the ones that have hardly any words. Anyone give me any way that they would go about this? Move the 4 over, f of x equals 4. When does f of x equal 4? F of 14. Okay, so I'm talking about this point right here. So x equals 14. Okay, now I kind of gave away the ending already, but D is the questions that would split the province. I hope it does not split this school, okay? Because then it will have to be harder on the next year's class. That's what I do. I look through every question and I go, what? 60%? I got to work harder on that question next year. Because of all my grade 12s, only 60% are getting them. That's my fault. Now, what would be your answer to this? F of x plus 6 equals 0. Let's see as a class we can figure out, let alone sitting in diploma all by yourself. Okay. Okay. So this is what you're first saying, right? But negative 2 plus 6 equals 4. That makes sense? Okay. Maybe this might make more sense. That's the correct answer. But if f of x equals 0, tell me what this means. What kind? Okay, this x got replaced with x plus 6, correct? That is a horizontal translation, 6 units left. You may remember this stuff, okay? Except for perms and comms, it's been transformations. Do you think we're going to do transformations in trig? Absolutely, okay? So, if it was here, so this is where it was. If I take this and I move it, I'm going to get it over here. So f of x plus 6 should be negative 8. Oops. Okay. F of x minus 3 equals 5. So what's the best way to do it? What is f of x equals 5? F of what equals 5? F of what equals 5? 23. So f of 23 equals 5. So the replacement is x got replaced with x minus 3. So that is a horizontal translation, 3 units. Which way? Right. So what is f of x minus 3 equals 5? What's x? It's 26. The most common answer on this one is, so the most common mistake, I guess, is f of 4, or sorry, x equals 4. Okay, that one splits the province right down the middle. Why do they have that? They put in the negative 2 plus 6. So even when you're doing a study sheet, put non-examples in there. Put examples that don't do this. Okay? If you have that awareness, when you go into a test that's kind of stressful, you have your kind of, you get your bearings because you know this, right? So if this is the stumbling block on a difficult question, it becomes more difficult. Okay, you may remember this stuff. Okay, now this stuff is 100% review. Now this is something that if you pulled out your study sheet, you should be able to get back pretty fast. The bad part is if you've lost your study sheet. But luckily it is no one in this class. Right, Graham? Have you found it yet? Don't think it existed. It's not what you want to be telling me. Now, f g of x, that is the same thing as what? This thing. What does it mean? Anyone know? Be more specific. Translate just this to me. What does it mean? Don't even look at the equations yet. What does this mean? Yes, it does mean f of x over g of x minus 5. Now, f of x is 2x minus 3. G of x is x minus 1 minus 5 equals 0. Now, how would you go about solving this one for this question? What would you do first? Do not move the 5 over. What does this mean? Use your calculator. Okay? Remember, don't do anything more than you have to. The biggest thing with Edmonton Public is 21st century literacy. And I don't know if you know exactly what that means, but that means you guys have to be literate in how to use everything for the turning. That doesn't mean reading. And one big part of that is technology. And if you really think about it, that calculator is probably the biggest and most used technology for you guys in grade 12. Okay? So I have to teach you how to use this calculator. So this is not cheating. This is not taking the easy way out. Most students in grade 10 do not know how to use that calculator at all. Like 2 plus 3 parts, all that they do, but all those other buttons, they do not know how to use. By the end of grade 12, they're very literate using that technology. Okay? The graphing, the logarithms, all your sine, cos, tan. I mean, there's tons of stuff in there that grade 9s come in and they do not know how to use this calculator. Even some come, it's still in the plastic. I have to get my knife out to get it out for them, right? They actually, in those hard to kill, open plastic things. That's how little they have used that it actually comes in fresh. So knowing how to do this and knowing when to do it. Now, if my second time around the diploma, would I do this algebraically? Sure. Like, I want to see, did I get the right answer? Let's try this. But don't do it the first time. Okay? So what are we getting? 0.67. Okay? Now the next two, I want to make sure everybody's doing because there are some very important lessons in both of them. Okay, now in B, can anybody translate to me an understanding of what g of h of x is? Huh? Graham, what does this mean? Good. Okay, I'm hoping he remembered that because this is what we had to go through, and then I found out that a study sheet did not exist or is lost. This means put h of x inside of g of x. So this one here, how would we do this? I'd put square root, what is f of x? 2x minus 3 equals, now h of x is going into g of x. So that is x plus 5 minus 1. Okay, please everybody try it. I'm just going to ask one person randomly for their answer. Remember, to the nearest hundredth. These, of course, would be good numerical response questions. Amy, what's the answer? It didn't intercept, so what would be the answer? Undefined or no solution? Now, I need you to have that confidence when you get to the diploma and you're getting no solution, not to go, oh no, I must be doing something wrong. I must be doing this, right? Hey, if we have them in, if I put them on my tests or I put them on, or you see them in the work, then you're going to be more confident that no solution. Maybe it doesn't mean you screwed up. Maybe there is no solution, okay? And one of the multiple choice could be no solution. And I would probably get algebraically graphing that one, or working on that one too, to see why. And I think because you're going to be taking the square root of or there must be a negative, right? And that negative, and that 2x minus 3 would not be defined if you did all the work. Now, f of gx, so we've already gone through this. That means f of x over g of x, right? So f of x is 2x minus 3 over g of x. X minus 1 equals g is x minus 1 over, I'm doing h of x, x plus 5. Now we're not doing these. These do not cancel, do they? Those multiply to each other, okay? So keep them like they are. We had many different answers in the last class. Many of them were wrong. So I had to do this one with them, and I'm like, I still don't know how they're getting them wrong. But after I did them, they seemed to get them. Last class was the class of Mr. Trimble, this is not working my calculator. They put it in, and we find the exact answer. And they're like, it didn't work before. It never works before. My presence sometimes just finds those points. I hear a lot of clicking, so I'm going to wait for... Okay, Alyssa, you got anything? Nothing? So what would you say? No solution? Okay. So no solution would be incorrect. So 1.52 is one of them. Is there more than one? Yes, and x equals negative 10.52. Now, I don't like the word paranoid, but just be heightened to certain words. Like if they say, what would be the largest solution? Like that should say, largest, there must be more than one. Okay? Or what would be the sum of the solution of the x-intercepts? Sum. That means there must be more than one, right? And always be careful. Like I did have people that were getting no solution, and I don't know how you're getting no solution. What? I don't want to graph it all over again. But yeah, if you're having no solution, come up to me so I can help you out and see what you're getting. And just make sure, like you could see that the one graph on the left side, it might intersect with the other one. Get those window settings over there a bit bigger. Like do minus 20/20s and, get it bigger so you're seeing if there's any other ones, okay? Because they will not always show up on the screen. Okay, so we're doing 1 to 9. If you get done early, please start working on your practice test.